All right, so this is a quick recap of the build process for the 15-foot toss bar. So for the bottom, what I did was I actually upgraded the thickness of the main PVC to 1.5 inch. So for the bottom, I've got about an 8-inch pipe, 1.5 inch wide, and I went down to the ground. I dug it down to about level with the grass. That way I can go over it with the mower and not have any issues. I probably will wind up getting a cap that I can put over it in times when it's not in use, so that I don't wind up getting a bunch of grass and dirt and things in there and wind up filling it up. I have to dig it out later. So it's relatively flush. It won't get chopped up in the mower or anything. The biggest issue that I've had with it is just getting it stable. So when the full pole is in there and it's moving around, it will shift and it can cause the upper bar to move. So I basically dug it out and it's all clay under there, and wound up filling it with sand just to see. I filled about 3 or 4 inches down inside there, and then filled around the outside edge with sand and tried to replace some of that clay. So it's gotten a lot more stable, but I may wind up going back to see if maybe I could do something like concrete if it becomes too big of a pain, or if it doesn't settle in there right. But I'll give it a little bit of time first before I get into all that. So for the main pole, I actually bought 3 5-foot sections because I couldn't fit the 10-foot in my car. It would have been a little bit cheaper if I could, but I got 3 5-foot sections. Again, the main pole here is 1.5 inches. I guess I should say the piece in the ground is 2 inches, so that this main pole goes in. So this is 1.5 inches, this is 2 inches here. So the 1.5 inches for the main pole gave me a good amount of sturdiness at 15 feet. So you've got the first 5-foot section. And then I've just got the straight connectors here. Those are about $1 a piece, so not too bad. I originally started out with a rubber with a couple of the screwdriver tightening rings around the outside, whatever the O-rings or whatever you want to call them. So that actually gave it too much flexibility when I used the rubber. So I went back to the cheap little PVC straight caps here, and it does a decent job. So you've got one there at 5 feet, another here after the next 5-foot segment, so this is 10 foot up. And then at the top, I originally looked at doing a 90-degree turn. I just wound up I found this T-piece. So it's 1.5 inch receptor on either side. So it gave me 1.5 inch in, and then it was 1/2 inch coming out to the side. So I actually prefer to have the thinner bar because this is going to be basically holding up under its own gravity, since there's not a second piece on the other side. So a thinner, lighter bar actually did better. So I did the 1/2 inch PVC, again a 5-foot section coming out here. So I have a 5-foot lateral bar. There's a little bit of sag when I put it in from that lateral bar, but not too much. I wouldn't say more than a couple inches. So by the time I get this thing buried in there, it sits right at about 14 feet and 9 inches tall. So we'll plant it here real quick. And just twist it into that sand a little bit. And then again, you can see it moves around a little bit in the grass. So that's where I'm going to try to sturdy it up over time. And then you get the bar up high. So it's relatively windy out today, so it's getting pushed around a little bit. Some of that's me just trying to adjust it here. But if you can get it to hold steady, it does hold a pretty good parallel there. Again, maybe a couple inches of sag by the time it gets to the end there, but typically I'm not throwing that far over on the bar. So I've tossed a couple times over it. One of the benefits to having it be able to rotate that base piece is that if you tag it with the bag, which I've done several times, it'll just twist. So it twists into the base rather than just resting the weight of the bag on that bar or breaking or anything. So just being flexible enough actually helps it from shattering, because a good 30-pound plus bag would definitely break that at weight. So you see the wind taking a little bit. So I'll keep working on that bases on, but otherwise the total design, because I did upgrade the size to the 1.5 inch over the inch I was looking at, and all the other components, it wound up being right about a total of $27 after tax. So not too bad. And that is the Broke Man's bag toss.